What's up guys, welcome back to the Run with Jay channel. So today I'm going to be reviewing the Coros Pace 2 fitness watch from Coros. So this watch has gotten really popular lately with a lot of elite athletes using it and ambassadors like Eliud Kipchoge representing the brand as well. So I wanted to check it out myself to see what the hype is all about and to see if this could potentially replace my tried and true Garmin 245 Music. So in this video we're going to talk about the watches, do a little bit of a comparison, and see if the Coros Pace 2 has what it takes to dethrone my old watch. So if you guys are new to this channel, welcome. Please hit that like and subscribe button as well as the bell for notifications. And I want to give a shout out to my returning subscribers. Thank you guys so much for your contribution and support. So let's get this review started. So first we'll talk about the specs of the watch. So the Coros Pace 2 costs $199 for the regular version. There is the Eliud Kipchoge version out for $250, in which you get the nylon band as well as a Coros pod and additional accessories. So I was okay with the regular Coros, and for that price I think it's super reasonable compared to my Garmin 245, which costs about $350 for the music and about $299 for the regular version. So the Coros Pace 2 is very similar to the Garmin 245 in many ways. The display is about the same size at 1.2 inch, and they both have about a 240 by 240 pixel display. The Coros uses an LCD display, while the Garmin uses a sunlight visible transflective memory in pixel display. So the weight of the Coros 2 is another one of its selling point. It is a little bit lighter compared to the Garmin watch. So the Coros Pace 2 weighs at about 35 grams for the silicone band and about 29 grams with the nylon band, so super light. And then the Garmin 245 weighs at about 38.5 grams, so it's a little bit heavy, but both of these watches are very light, so the noticeable difference is going to be minimal unless you really care about the weight. And both of these watches have about a 5 ATM water rating, so you can go about 50 meters underwater. And both of these watches use Corning glass, so the Garmin uses Corning Gorilla Glass 3 while the Coros Pace 2 just uses Corning glass. So another big selling point and difference between the two watches is battery life. So on the Coros Pace 2 they're saying you can get about 20 days of regular use on your watch, while on the Garmin you can get about 7 days, up to 7 days. I definitely noticed a difference using the Coros watch. After a full day of use, my battery is only down to about 90 to 95, which is crazy. And I've had the Garmin watch for over 2 years, so the battery might be a little bit old, but I'll probably be down about 75 to 80 at best if I was using the watch daily. So in GPS mode with the Garmin and music, you can get up to 6 hours of use, while 30 hours in full GPS mode with the Coros. And also on the Garmin, if you're using GPS mode without music, you can get up to 1 day or 24 hours. And the battery on the Coros, you can get up to 60 hours in GPS mode using the Ultra Max mode, where the GPS turns on and off to save battery. So battery is definitely another big selling point between these two watches. So on the Coros, you get the optical heart rate monitor, the barometric altimeter, accelerator, compass, gyroscope, and thermometer. So the Garmin does not come with an altimeter or a gyroscope, and in order to get the thermometer, you have to get a separate sensor. Next, we'll do a quick unboxing video of the Coros Pace 2, as well as the quick instructions on how to set it up for the first time. So the box is nicely designed. You have these two stickers on the sides that you have to pull out in order to open the box. And it's a very simple kind of design. Look, I really like the packaging. And then you pull open the box, and then you have the quick start guide. And then under the quick start guide, you have the actual, I believe the user guide is inside. It gives you all the directions and the product safety and warranty policy, as well as a Coros sticker that you can use. And if you need any support, you can go to support.coros.com. And then you have the watch itself. It has an interesting Explore Perfection sticker on top that you can peel off to expose the Corning glass. And then you'll have to take out the plastic that held the watch in to expose the charging cable So the charging cable is your standard USB cable. You do not get a charging block or anything with it, so you can plug this into any USB port like a computer, or you can plug it to a charging block. Any company's app charging block would work in order to charge this watch. And the watch charges fairly quickly. In order to turn on the watch, you will have to press the bottom right button. So the watch only comes with two buttons. The top is a scroll and a press button, so you can scroll through the menu. And the bottom is the back button, as well as the button that turns on the watch itself. And if this is your first time setting up the watch, it'll give you a QR code, which you'll have to then download the Coros app in order to sync your watch and phone together. So you can find the app in either the Apple Store or Google Play. So once you finish downloading, you open the app and it's going to ask you if you want to link the device with Bluetooth and also add notifications. So once you set up your Coros account, it's going to ask for your username, country, and region. So go ahead and set all of that up. It's very pretty standard and self-explanatory. And it'll ask you to put in your user info like your height, weight, etc., and birth date. And then it's going to send an activation email to the email that you supplied in order to activate your account. And again, you can use your phone to always keep your location while using the app, or you can use it while only while you're using the app. So then when you'll choose your device that you want to set up in the Coros app, and then you just literally point the camera to that QR code, and it's going to pair itself together pretty seamlessly. And then you just pair the device together, and your watch should be set up with your phone. And then you have to decide which hand you're using the watch, and the button locations are all customizable. And then you set your daily goals of what you want for using this watch. And then also you can set your sleep schedule so notifications won't come during those time, which is pretty nice. I mean, Garmin has the same thing as well. And then you also set your heart rate zones that you wish to use, whether it's max heart rate or or a lactate threshold rate. So that's really up to the user. And then you'll set up your notifications that you want to get on your watch, which is pretty cool. So you can customize apps that you want to get notifications from, as opposed to the Garmin, where you're just going to get notifications for everything. With the Coros, you can get notifications for specific apps. And then it's going to ask to update the watch firmware, and this will probably take about 20 minutes for the first upgrade. So once your watch is all updated, you can use your phone to get to the main menu and set up everything on there that you need, like pairing it to Strava or other third-party apps. You can also, update your watch face. You can see your different type of workouts, which there's a lot more for the Coros as opposed to the Garmin. And then it's really cool that they have very customizable watch faces that you can use for each sport. I do like how they have an option for over 5 or 6 metrics, as opposed to only about 4 for the Garmin watch. So if you're a person that really likes your data, you can see a lot of metrics at the same time on one face, instead of having to switch to a different face to see another metric. So everything's pretty customizable. It's like the toolbox as well as the workout map. And firmware update is where you update the phone. And on my training, you can download workouts on the Coros website, so they have to be approved training. So one thing I miss is having VDOT uploaded automatically to my Garmin. So when I'm doing my workouts, it tells me exactly what I need to do on the watch, so I know if I have to change pace or do different sets. So this is not really available yet for Coros and the Coros app. I believe they are working with VDOT to try to bring that onto the watch like the Garmin has, where their training plans that you set in VDOT get automatically fed to your Coros app as well as your Coros watch. And then the Coros Evo Lab is where you can see statistics. They have a lot of cool metrics like race predictor, which I've heard is very accurate. So it does need about a week's worth of running or kind of workouts in order to give you some data. But once you do get the Evo Lab data, it is very heavy, a lot of analytics going on in there. So if you like data, this will be perfect for you. There's more than enough data for you to analyze if you're that type of person. And then you go to the all workouts menu. Here is where you'll see all of your workouts listed, and then you can click on each workout to see what the data is for that. And then in the first icon on the bottom is where you'll see the main menu, where you'll see all of your metrics all placed in one screen. I do kind of miss the Garmin, metrics. I do like their app a little bit better because it's very seamless and it has a lot of the metrics I want to see all in one page. So if you do use VDOT, on their third connected apps, you can connect your Coros. There's an option for that, which is really good. You'll just have to type in your Coros account login, and then it'll give you a privacy notice, and then you'll just have to accept and authorize to log in, and then it'll be synced to your VDOT, which is pretty useful. So if you have used VDOT for training, all the workouts that you do will be automatically synced into that app, and you also can connect it with Strava. Now, one thing with the Coros watch is it automatically is set to have an auto lock mode. So if you're in a workout or you don't use a watch for a while, it automatically locks it. So in case you press anything, it doesn't mess anything up, which is a cool feature. It takes a little bit of getting used to for the first time. So in order to unlock it, you basically just have to scroll the wheel one full loop, and then you'll be able to make kind of adjustments to it, or you stop and pause the training. You can turn off that feature on somewhere in settings on your watch, and so if you don't like it, but I think it's neat to have. So I always press a button by accident, either while I'm running or when I'm not doing anything. So having that feature that locks it is pretty neat, especially if I'm on the move and my hand hits something. It's kind of annoying. Both watches are very similar in a way. If you want to start a workout, you pretty much have pressed the top right button, and then you select your workout and then press start. And to stop, you press the same button again. And for the Coros, in order to stop a workout, you'll have to hold it for a few seconds to confirm, instead of scrolling down on the Garmin to press finish. So instead of 4 buttons, you'll have 2 with the Coros. It takes a little bit getting used to, but I think that the simpler version is nicer and easier to use. So after using the Coros Pace 2 for a while, so what do I like about the watch? Definitely one thing, it is light. When I'm wearing it, I can definitely feel the difference compared to the Garmin. Even though they're both very light watches, I could notice the difference. And I don't have the nylon band, but if you do have the nylon band, it feels even lighter at 29 grams, which is pretty amazing. And for battery life is another big thing that I love about this watch. As I said before, I can go a full day with just using the watch and still have about 90 to 95% of battery left, as opposed to the Garmin where I probably have only about 80 or so battery left. So I mean, I've had the Garmin for a while. That might be the case with the battery degrading, but definitely there's a lot more battery life for the Coros. That's one thing less you have to worry about when you're out running and or you're just on your daily activities and your battery dying. And another thing I like about this watch is it's very simple to use. So they cut out a lot of the buttons on other watches and just have 2 buttons and a scroll wheel to make things simpler. Pretty much like on and off button. The functions are very similar to the Garmin watch, where you have to stop and start, and then in the lap as well as the back button. The only thing difference now is instead of pressing the left side of the buttons to go up and down, you use the scroll wheel, which I think is pretty intuitive. It takes a while getting used to the new adjustments, but I think overall it's a lot more simple, and I think it's easier to use. And like I said before, the auto lock function is pretty neat. Some people might not like it, but then they do have the option to turn it off. I always hit my watch, or when I'm doing exercises or stretching, I hit a button by accident and always turns my watch on to like GPS mode when I don't mean it to. So that lowers battery life as well. And I like how you can lock it so during a race or something you don't hit a button by accident when you don't really mean it. So that's a good feature to have, and you can customize it to turn it on and off if you want. So that's one thing I like about the watch. And also the GPS on the Coros, I feel like it's a little bit quicker compared to the Garmin. There's times at the Garmin where I just cannot for the life of me get a GPS signal, and I have sometimes to turn the watch off and on to get a signal. But the Coros, I don't know if it's newer technology, but it picks up the signal a lot quicker. And that's also another thing I hate waiting for, is when I'm trying to get my run started, but the GPS will not sync, so it delays your workout. It's sometimes frustrating. And this watch feels like a more runner, like a watch just made specifically for running, while on the other hand, the Garmin is also a running watch, but it's also, I feel like, a lifestyle watch that you can use for other purposes. And definitely I've noticed while running on the treadmill with this watch, I like how you can set the treadmill speed right on your watch, and then as soon as you do that, it pretty much syncs exactly to what your treadmill is going to say, and then the statistics after the end of the run is pretty much dead on, and I love that. With the Garmin watch, I kind of have to, mix and match to get it to fit that exact distance and speed, since it's pretty random. I know you can, adjust your time at the end to kind of sync it with your treadmill, but nothing like having the pace exactly dialed in with your treadmill. So they both had pretty much similar distance and time, which is nice. And another thing I like about the watch is definitely that it has more activities compared to the Garmin. It's got about 14 at least on the Coros, and Garmin has about 12 or 13. So a lot of the metrics are different compared to the Garmin, and I feel like the metrics measure a little bit better on the Coros, in my opinion, as opposed to the Garmin. With the Coros, you can have about almost 6 pieces of data, which is pretty nice. So if you're a data-driven person, you can see a lot more information on one screen as opposed to switching the dial to see more data. And I feel like this watch is a little bit more sleeker looking compared to the Garmin for some reason. The bezel and design, although they're both circular, I feel like the Coros looks a little bit more newer as opposed to the, I tried and true black, like circular design like like the Garmin has. I mean, it's a great watch. It does its thing and it works. So, but I feel like the design is a little bit more sleeker on the Coros, even though they're both about the same thickness. And also something very small, but I feel like the vibration on the Coros when it gives you notifications a lot more subtle as opposed to the Garmin, where it's like really, it gets you. It might be a personal taste, but I feel like I kind of like that a little bit better as opposed to the very rigid vibration you get with the Garmin. It's just enough vibration where I know something's happening for me to take notice, but not too much where you're like getting shocked on your wrist. And for notifications, I love how you're able to set exactly what apps you get notifications from, as opposed to getting all notifications from every app on your phone. That's a pretty nice feature to have. And also with the Evo Lab, it will have so much data for you to analyze that I don't know what you can do. There's just so much stuff. The Evo Lab. So you need 7 days worth of workouts, and then start calculating your race predictor, like how long you'll finish a race, and tons of other metrics, which I love, and I'm sure people who love data will as well. So what do I not like about the Coros Pace 2, since I did name a lot of things I did like? So I feel like the light on the watch is a little bit dimmer as opposed to the Garmin 245 Music. It's not a huge difference, but I feel like in some situations it is a little bit easier to see on the Garmin watch as opposed to the Coros. The Coros has an always-on LCD display, and they both have kind of like a light feature or auto raise, and the light will shine on. But overall, I think the screen on the Garmin is a little bit better and brighter compared to the Coros. And of course, the Coros does not have music, so if you're a person that has to run with music, you're out of luck because you can't put any music on that watch. The Garmin, I loved it because you could put, about like 250 songs at least of music on there. And, although I feel like the music app and the way it transfers files could be a little bit better, but you can still listen to music and you don't have to carry your phone with you, which is great. So I'll definitely miss that on the Coros. So that's one thing I don't like about the Coros. And honestly, I think the Coros watch is designed purely for running, so they really cut out all the other stuff that's not necessary. So if you're a pure, person that just like strictly running and not worrying about music or anything, I think the Coros might be for you. And of course, you can always carry an Apple Watch or carry your phone with you if you have to have music. But a lot of runners don't like to carry extra things they don't need to. Also, Coros does not have Wi-Fi, so if you're, you have to have your phone with you at all times. Otherwise, even if you're in a Wi-Fi building, you won't get notifications, so that might be a deal breaker for some people. And also, updates on the Coros take a lot longer as opposed to the Garmin. The Garmin updates are super quick once you connect your watch to a computer device. On the Coros one, I feel like all the updates I've been doing, it takes at least 10-15 minutes, so that's not really a deal breaker, but just something to notice. And also, currently there's no VDOT training support with the Coros watch, so you can't get workouts directly downloaded onto your watch. So while you're running, it tells you, in 2 minutes you have to cool down or you have to do another set. So that's a really nice feature I like on the Garmin, which isn't available on the Coros yet. I did hear that Coros is working with VDOT to bring that to life in the future, but as of right now, it doesn't seem like you are able to transfer workouts from VDOT over to Coros if you use VDOT. You are able to download like official, I guess, Coros workouts on their website. They're like different, like I guess, like runs that you can download with like Nike Run Club. There's like 30-minute runs, or a 5-mile run or something like that you can download, and that'll go to your watch, which is okay. But I do definitely miss the VDOT compatibility, where your workouts go straight to your watch. And also, I feel like the Coros app isn't as fine-tuned as the Garmin app. The Garmin app has pretty much everything you can think of in an app. It has social media, it has badges, it has just tons of stats right on the main screen, which I love, like your stress level, how much sleep, dehydration, gear. You can keep track of miles on your shoes. So there's a ton of stuff you can do with the Garmin app. There's also, you can set the fall warning sensitivity that you don't have with the Coros. So I feel like the Garmin app is more well-tuned and refined as opposed to the Coros app. But then again, I feel like the Coros app is strictly made for runners who just want everything to do with running. So that was a lot of information between the two watches. So final verdict or summary between these two watches, they're both great watches, and they're meant for specific people. If you're a person that has to have music while running, that'd definitely be a deal breaker not having that with the Coros. Both of these watches are very light. The Coros, I feel like, is just a bit more lighter. I think I'm going to keep both watches, but I'm going to start using the Coros a lot more. I feel like it's like a little bit of a breath of fresh air. I feel like it's made strictly for running. Doesn't have any other nonsense. It has the data that you need for running, and it's lighter, has better battery life. The GPS is quicker. All things that I care about as a runner. I love music as well, don't get me wrong, but I think I can sacrifice music for some of those other benefits that I just talked about. So both of these watches are great. Price wise, the Coros is a great deal at $199 for the base version, as opposed to the $350 for the music and the $299 for the regular Forerunner 245. So if you're looking for a bargain, I think the Coros Pace 2 is definitely on the top of the list. Has great fitness running watches, and I've heard a lot of people who've used this watch say this is a great watch, and they've really enjoyed it. And people have used the Coros, actually never turned back to Garmin. So they're definitely a very good watch, and I really like the sleeker design of the Coros as well. So I'm gonna keep using the Coros. And it's a great bargain, very cheap, like I said, and it pretty much for the price, it's a steal with the amount of features you get. There are pros and cons, like I said before, but overall it comes down to personal preference. But it really depends on what features are important to you and what you need as a runner. So if you don't care about anything else but just running and your data, then Coros will probably be your best bet. And it's also cheaper. But if you're a person that wants the whole lifestyle experience with your watch, not just for running, we want community, you want to know other metrics like your stress level, or hydration, all that stuff, then the Garmin might be for you. And you want to have badges and a well-defined app. So Garmin is a great company. They've been around for a while, so you really have to decide what is important to you in terms of features. They're both great watches, but for me, if you were to ask me if I had to choose between both of these, I would probably say I would stick with the Coros. I just kind of like the watch a little bit better. It's just faster, sleeker, and it just fits what I do specifically as a runner. So thank you guys for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope the information was helpful in helping you decide on a watch if you're in the market for one. And I'd love to hear your feedback on watches if you use either of these, or if you guys have any other questions, comments, or feedback, please feel free to leave them down below. If you haven't yet, please hit that like and subscribe button. And I hope you guys are all staying safe, your training is going well, and you're staying warm if you're in winter in the US. And I'll talk to you guys on the next run.